No doubt that gacha games can be super fun to play, sometimes challenging your intellect, presenting you with amazing story, or perhaps just a very well designed game with outstanding music. There's plenty of reasons why to play a gacha game, ignoring the predatory gacha mechanic that made people spend more money than any human ever should on a JPEG. But other than that, gacha games can be great! With 8 years of experience and 10,000 hours of grinding in those, it's easy for me to say that I love them. But even though I've been a big fan of them, like every other genre of games, there are things I personally can't stand that pretty much every gacha game has. Acknowledging the bad as much as the good is important. And so for today, I'm gonna talk about the things I despise about gacha games. If at any point you disagree with a take of mine, then let me know in the comment section. Let's start with one I have addressed countless times in my stream. Most gacha games have a mode where you have to beat the same stage every week, every 2 weeks, every month. I'm talking about the Tower in Summoner's War, the Abyss in Genshin Impact, the SSS in Arknights, etc. While yes, they are all super fun to do in the beginning, once you successfully clear it, every additional time you have to beat it, it makes it less fun and becomes more and more of a chore than an enjoyable experience. It adds no value to the game, and I really don't get why every gacha game adds something like this. Having a game mode which you must beat on a timely basis is totally okay, but just because there's slight changes in the enemy that appear on it, it doesn't make it good enough to present the same dish 50 times in a row. Most of those stages that work like this reward you by being able to go higher and higher to get better rewards. Until that point, everything is totally fine, but once you reach the highest point, instead of forcing their player to beat the same thing over and over again, people should just be able to collect the highest reward since they have already beaten it. I was able to beat it the previous times. I would be able to beat it the next time as well. The only thing standing between me and the clear is time. And at a certain point, I will value the time higher than the rewards they are planning to give me. Thinking back, most gacha games I quit were because of a mode like this. Once I start getting tired of them, I stopped doing them obviously. But for me, once I start neglecting one mode, I will start giving a shit on the other modes as well, eventually leading me to the decision if I would want to continue the game in the first place. Obviously, I had to think about examples which gacha games have a mode like this. I mentioned a few in the beginning, right? Tower in Summoner's War, SSS in Arknights, the Abyss in Genshin. But it was much hard to think about one that doesn't have that. And I was only able to come up with one gacha game that I know of that doesn't have a mode like this. And this is FGO. For me, one is good enough, but maybe you can think of another one. Next thing I hate is something I've never seen anyone mentioning, nor have I ever mentioned this before. This is that I hate new characters. Let me cook on this one. The older any gacha game gets, I feel like the new characters are getting drawn better, more detailed, better animation, even match the lore better. They improve themselves a lot. So why do I hate new characters? It's not that I hate the new characters specifically, it's the amount of times they do it. Of course I know, they have those frequent releases to make money, and most of the time I am super hyped myself when one gets released. But some gacha games release new characters almost every 2 weeks. The older the gacha game is, the less attractive it becomes for me to start playing it. While you can look at it from one side and say, hey, this gacha game has so many cool characters, I love it. I prefer to not get overwhelmed with choices. I personally think most gachas peak at launch due to the easy accessibility and everyone around is on the same knowledge point as you are. Once a few years have passed, it is hard to follow stage guides, to watch random videos of the game, or just talk about the game in a Discord server. Everyone assumes you have the basic knowledge unless you specifically tell them that you're a new player. Let's take a look at Arknights for example. Arknights has over 270 different characters in the game. You're currently learning about the mechanics, and you have just seen there is something called Silence, which blocks the enemy ability. If you decide to build a character for Silence, you would need to choose now between 12 different characters, assuming you have all. At the beginning of the game, you had exactly one choice, which was Lapland. While I think having many characters and a great selection of waifus to choose from can be great in many ways, It's for me one of the bigger turndowns when deciding to play a gacha game, since I personally don't like being overwhelmed with like 100 different choices. The only reason why I continue playing FGO was thanks to the IP, but without that, I would have probably just dropped it quickly after. Matter of fact is, games release characters for money. If I stop doing that, they would lose money. I'm aware of it, I don't expect it to change. But there is actually one company that is doing an amazing job at this, and I hope other companies start copying from them as well. This is Genshin Impact. I am not part of the community, but every time they release a new character, I am aware of it. This is because they don't release a new character every 2 weeks, but if they finally release one, the entire community goes wild, and fan art, cosplays, everything is everywhere. And this even though the game is already 3 years old. The release of a character should be something exciting. Sadly, gachas that release character after character are not able to capture the same magic for me like Genshin or Honkai does. I really wonder how many agree or disagree with this take. At this point, you might have realized that this video is just a collection of my hot takes in gacha games. Let's talk about grinding. And before you say anything, I love grinding. I grinded in Arknights and FGO for 24 hours straight. I think grinding is enjoyable, but I have only so much time in a day, and if a game like Genshin Impact forced me to play 1 to 2 hours per day for a daily grind, I respond with, fuck this. Gacha games are side games. They are not supposed to be your main activity of the day, and should be played on the side of something. When it comes to grinding in gacha games, there are quite a few variants. Some are more amazing than others. Let's look at the worst kind of grinding simulator. I call it the fuck this tier. Here we have games like Genshin and Fake Grand Order. What those games have in common is that there is no auto farming. You will have to farm everything all by yourself. While for Genshin this can feel like a goddamn job, at least for FGO the grinding can be done in a matter of minutes. So even though there isn't really an auto mode, it's not too bad depending on what kind of stage you're farming. Many stages take 1/3 of your stamina, so you will be quickly done depleting your stamina bar. The next kind I call acceptable tier. Games like Arknights or Summoner's War who have an auto mode, but the grinding still happens in real time. Pleasant with those is that you can put the game aside and the grinding just happens for you. As someone who is busy editing, recording, streaming, the last thing I want to have is a full-time job in the form of a game. That's why this is for me the minimum I expect when playing a gacha game. And the last kind is what I call God tier. Games like Kimono Friends Kingdom and Reverse 1999 are in this. Yes, I got sponsored by both of them recently, but this has nothing to do with why I generally love how they handle the grinding. In Kimono Friends, you can just select how many times you would like to clear the stage, and after a little animation, you have now successfully grinded a stage 10 times in a few seconds. Reverse 99 is very similar to this as well. You can do up to 4 runs simultaneously with super speed, so you can do your daily stamina grind in a matter of minutes. Think about the gacha game you are playing right now. If they would add this feature in the game, would you say yes, this is cool, or do you think it would destroy the fun of grinding? I was thinking about it a lot. Does grinding have value to the fun of the game? For me, I came to the conclusion that I don't think I would enjoy playing a gacha game without having to grind for my achievements. But on the other hand, why would I need to look at pretty much a recording of how I've beaten the stage, and this multiple times a day? This totaling up to hours of just my phone being turned on, grinding the stage automatically. Is it really worth taking a toll on my phone's battery for something that could just be skipped? Being able to just skip this recording wouldn't take away the joy of grinding, but certainly would give me a lot of time I can use to not touch grass. Therefore, I would welcome if this would become the new standard. And finally, to not be completely hated by everyone, something I know I'm not the only one hating it. The base system. The base idea of the base system is not bad. Being able to customize your own dorm, room, sex dungeon, or whatever it is called, sometimes even having the chance to farm certain materials in there, is a fire idea. It adds value to the game and is fun to do. Sadly, many gacha games, you can't show it off to other players and compare yours to others. It's just there for you sitting alone, not seen by anyone else but you. That alone is very much a me thing. Some might actually like that, but this is not the reason why I hate the base system. But what made me hate it is the style that, for example, Arknights went with. Twice a day, you must remove a group of characters and add a group of characters to farm in your base. All this manually. This until the server goes down or society collapses. Whatever comes first. It's not just that Arknights is doing that, but many gacha games add something very tedious in addition to the base that make it unfun to do, which is so sad. Be it the dorm system in Honkai Impact, the base in Arknights, or the housing system in Genshin. I love the concept of it, but it feels so unrefined, and yet most gacha games have a system like this. Obviously, there is no rule without exception. Here again, Summoners War FGO don't have that, but for most newer gachas, this is the norm to have something like it. I just feel like it's something with so much potential, but most are pretty much copying the base system from one another, and sometimes make it even worse. Nonetheless, I am pretty sure, the longer gacha games exist, the better the system will become. But I just really hope they stop adding the freaking tedious things. It adds no value to make me annoyed. I don't enjoy being annoyed. But with that, those are my 4 most hated things in gacha games. Obviously, there is so much more things I hate that certain gacha games have, but I try to limit myself to things that the majority have. But since we're at this, let me go on a rant a bit. Not able to skip story is terrible game design and sucks. Not returning skins and characters should be considered a crime. Grinding events, forcing me to play 24/7. The amount of materials you can farm per event should be decided by how much stamina you saved up and not by how unemployed I am. Low max level cap. Give me a reason to play the game. I don't want to reach max level within my first month of playing. Certain servers being ahead of others. I just love to not be spoiled by upcoming content, or always having people say I shouldn't pull for them because there's a better character already out on another server. Different treatment between servers is just as bad. You know, equality. You might have heard of it. If one server does an oopsie, just give the same rewards to all servers, so that my JP friend is having the same resources as I do. Obviously, I am aware everything I said is pretty much a hot take. You might disagree with some takes, so let me know why my opinion sucks and tell me why yours is better. Being aware of the positives and negatives is important, and since I usually just make videos about how great gachas are, I thought I might as well change things up and give you some takes of what I don't like about them. But I really can't wait to read the comments what you think about this. And in case my takes were so bad, people are trying to cancel me for it, then hey, it was at least a good run. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and with that said, bye bye Samurai, have a good one, and see ya.